Hey guys, this is market update. The price action looks insanely good, doesn't it? We bounced off the 50 period. Uptrend, uptrend, uptrend. Reclaim this 100K. Few weeks of massive price action. This week, just breaking through all of that chop and trade, breaking through this trend line up to 100K. Now, if we just have this as a base and we can just trade around here and maybe close this week above 100K, that's fantastic. And that can lead us on maybe into the next surge upwards. If you look at on-chain data as well, it is not showing that we're overdone or overbought or at the top of some sort of expansion, just beginning. So everything's looking really good, I think. Now, if you have the crypto course and you haven't got the updates yet, just log in and you can see all these updates. These are free for you guys. I've also got a 20% code for the course. If you type BTC at checkout, you can get 20% off. Free updates forever, 300 videos on setting up your investment portfolio and trading crypto. Link down below in the description. We had to go through that tariff FUD storm, but like I said in the previous video, we actually, to the downside, performed pretty well versus a lot of other assets and the NASDAQ, for example. So when we inflect back to the upside, we're going to be extra volatile to the upside as well. It's been an absolutely fantastic bull market so far, to be honest. You know, just these sell-offs, which are opportunities, and you know that we're going to inflect back to the upside. Tariff deals are coming. That's all good news. And then liquidity worldwide is expanding, right? You can see that. Very, very highly correlated with the Bitcoin price. We had that drawdown in liquidity. Now we're expanding again. The next few months into June may look really, really good, right? And then you look at something like AVIV, which shows where Bitcoin's price is really overdone, either up or down, and it's at 1, right? The top end of the last bull cycle, it came up to over 2. So we're at 1, we're breaking out to new all-time highs, and global liquidity worldwide is expanding. It's absolutely ideal. So really, really just constructive for the rest of this bull market. Also, if you do trade crypto, you can get 30K as a deposit bonus on Bybit. If you don't trade there yet, click the link below. Whatever you deposit, they'll give you a deposit bonus to trade with. If we look forward then, we've basically got a procession of trade deals that are going to come. And I just think that the market likes certainty. Yes, the downside of those tariffs is that what America is basically doing is raising tax, right? They're raising tax because their fiscal deficit is too high. That's what tariffs are. They're a tax, right? And so they're actually just raising taxes, which can drag world GDP, which is not good. World GDP going down with the amount of debt, it's not great. And that's why you're seeing China cut rates. This week they cut rates, they're pumping money into the economy. And I think that coincided with the little breakout that we're having now. That happens as well, right? It's not just the US, they're the most important for liquidity, right? But other countries as well, if they're pouring in liquidity, they're cutting rates. The UK cut this week, Europe are cutting, most other central banks are cutting. For some reason, the Fed just in la la land and just trying to eke it out. I don't know what their game is really, but look, if world growth is going to contract worldwide, they're going to have to be cutting as well soon. And anyway, 4% they can cut if they need to. So if GDP is coming down, they can get more dovish. Maybe they feel they don't need to right now, but it doesn't matter, right? We're in a cutting cycle. We're in the bull market for risk assets. Central banks are cutting, they're debasing their currencies, they're making their currencies weaker on purpose, and assets go up. So we're in the bull market, and everything is showing me that we're in a bull market. US ETF flows are starting to come back as well. We had the FUD storm. You can't have FUD for too long when you've got 130 plus percent debt to GDP for most developed nations or more, right? You can't be bearish for too long because you need the GDP side to keep growing to try and debase the debt. This is the budget deficit here. It's actually getting bigger. It's still getting bigger despite Doge and everything else. You can see that here. Now, maybe tariffs, which is a rise in tax, maybe they sort this out a little bit. But as I always say, when you raise taxes, you actually crush potential growth because you're taking currency out of the system. Every single metric that we look at is a fiat currency denominated metric. They're all nonsense. They're all fake. You can literally print money and create GDP because the things that we trade are now more expensive in those dollars or other fiat currencies. It's completely nonsense and fake. So if you're trying to tax more, what you're doing is taking that currency out of the economy that can act as a stimulus to GDP. And so you're actually gonna reduce potential GDP, but the debt is the same. It is literally unsavable at this point. And look, the fiscal situation is actually worse and getting worse and worse and worse, which is obviously good for BTC because rats need to escape the Titanic, right? We need to get out of that because it is not a good position to be in. This is aggregate inflation, right? So inflation worldwide is coming down, right? It's coming down to trend. It's still actually positive by 2%. So you had the 10% inflation, then the 9, then the 8, then the 7, and now we're at 2, cumulatively, the dollar and other fiat currencies are getting completely destroyed. At this point, we all know the reference rate is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is worldwide money. That's the reference rate. And so when you're in that, everything else just falls apart, right? You cannot increase your purchasing power by holding absolute garbage like this that's just actually designed to inflate away. The reference rate is Bitcoin. It's becoming clear. Corporations, individuals, US states. I said in the last video, oh, we're not going to get any states. We actually got one. New Hampshire, I believe, is the first to actually have a Bitcoin strategic reserve as a state. And I was told in the private Discord groups by a guy from New Hampshire that their state motto is live free or die, which is absolutely awesome, right? And they're the first state, so congrats. The reference rate is Bitcoin. That's money, and everything else is going to fall away. Whilst I'm excited for this potential breakout here, which is looking to happen, at least risk on is coming back. So we're flirting with all-time highs, right? Well, I'm excited about that, but the reality is when we break out from this, unfortunately, this may be the beginning of the end of this bull cycle, right? Which is this right here, because this is the long-term Bitcoin chart. You've all seen this. If you want this chart, just message me in the Discord groups in the Crypto Investor course. I'll give you this chart, but I put it in there often anyway. But we were at 15,000 at the bottom of this cycle. We're moving up. We've had the halving. This white line is typically when the halving cycle tops out, which is also the macro and debt cycle. But we're getting to the upper edges of it, right? When Bitcoin reaches this top line, it tends to reject and go back into a consolidation phase, or basically we call it a bear market, back to the trend line. And so it's bittersweet that we are going into what I would suggest is probably the end of this bull cycle, which produces massive returns, but also marks potentially the end of the actual bull move. So I still think we've got time here, but timing is running out, right? Where if we get to this top end, there's not really more we can do for long trades or speculative trades or trading short term, right? We have to be way more careful there. So I think that's why people are so excited here, because the tail end of the bull market is typically where you get huge returns. And unfortunately, we're going to get some new entrants here, and they're going to get in at these high prices and maybe get drawn down on, especially those that are buying the treasury companies that are popping up, which are clearly just trying to make money off the trend here of strategy and what they've done. There's always a part of the market that gets caught out in something at the top of the cycle. Maybe it's that, maybe it's something else, but potentially the start of the end, so bittersweet. Bitcoin is very clearly the answer to so many issues with saving and investing for the individual, right? It's the base rate. If you're getting 50% in Bitcoin with none of the risk of companies or anything else, right? That's what they have to return and more to compensate you for the risk. And so this thing is just destroying everything else. It's now the 5th largest asset in the world. We're above Alphabet. We're above Amazon after 16 years. These are the best companies in the world. They cannot compete with a large diversified money. And maybe this cycle, we're going to sit on top of US tech. Once Bitcoin's on US tech, the game's over, right? There's no questions about it. And we're going for gold at that point. We're not going to do it this cycle, though. That's absolutely crazy. Maybe we get on top of US tech this cycle. But US tech is going to move up as well as a currency to basis. But there's just no more questions about Bitcoin, right? The only problem is, of course, is that we don't want to get too excited at the very top of a cycle. We need to make sure that if AVIV is getting up to 1.8 or 2, right? That's when the Bitcoin price is a little bit overdone in relation to its longer term trend. If you look at the price chart here that I've got, again, if Bitcoin is up here towards the top of its trend, you have to start getting a little bit cautious about short term trades, or definitely don't be using any leverage and the price is up here. There's a few weeks left for the discount code on the crypto course, so click the link, you type BTC at checkout, you can get that discount, and you can watch all my latest updates as well. The Bybit deposit bonus down there as well. I'm James, it's MoneyZG, cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.